Hi, you're watching Georgia Alert. I'm Becca and I'm here with Tini and Marika. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
We'll be speaking about Georgian news and let's start with the highlight of the week.
Thank you, Becca. Hi, everyone. So we have a quite productive background work now going on in Georgia in the preparations for the decisive October elections. There have been several major things. For example, on July 9th, three political parties announced the unity. Political parties Drua and Girchi have already been together for quite some time, and now we joined alliance with the Ahali party. Yes, which is relatively new as a party, but the party leadership is well known to the Georgian society. It's Nika Guaramia, a very famous media manager in Georgia. He was also a political prisoner for over a year and was pardoned by President Salome Zurabishvili. And Nick Amelia, who is a former chair of the United National Movement Party. These are the two Nikas are co-chairs of Party Ahali, and so we joined forces. For now, in the opposition in Georgia, there are two big alliances. One is UNM together with Strategy Armashenebeli, and which also announced their platform of unity last week on July 8th, and they called the unity, it's called the Unity to Save Georgia. It also encompasses some public figures and academics and new faces in the coalition there. Other parts of the opposition, other parties are right now searching for optimal alliances, and we don't want any pro-Western vote to be wasted at these elections, which means that all parties who are pro-Western, they should find some configuration to be able to pass this 5% threshold, which is in Georgia, it's very high. And yeah, there's a risk that many parties will go below 5%, which will add mandates in the parliament to the Georgian dream. And that would be a disaster. So that's it. So what do you think about this unity?
I'll just mention one thing. For the political parties, opposition political parties, it's not about our ideologies and what we unite for. Like when we discussed uniting with Ahali, of course we discussed some of the topics which are important for us ideologically, because we have supporters who are in favor of those ideologies and reforms. However, this was more about doing everything to defeat this current government and to start like new democratic style government, which has never happened here in Georgia. We have never had the coalition which really works, which is really coalition and not just a formality. So I think that every political party in Georgia should think about this, that it's about the matter of Georgia and not matter of different political parties. From the charter of Salome Zurabishvili, we also know that after these elections, we'll have, after completing all of these points, we'll have new elections where all of the parties can talk about their ideologies and what are the differences between the opposition parties. So it's not a matter of ideologies, it's a matter of Georgia as a country.
Yes, it's everyone uniting against common obstacle.
Definitely, unity has been a common theme during this whole time. Also, I remember that when Charles Michel came to Georgia to help navigate the situation, the EU also saw the necessity to de-escalate this polarization, and they urged Georgian politicians to somehow find common ground and somehow de-escalate and depolarize the current situation, which has been ongoing for quite some time, that the political parties are not even speaking to each other. There are no debates like we are used to in democratic republics. the debates happen usually around certain policies about legislation, and yes, such thing has been out of the question in Georgia, and this came from the ruling party. That's their style, that they are not speaking to the opposition.
I have a question. Has
Sure.
it been like that? Like, I don't remember when they came, like first years of Georgian Dream, and were they like that from the first year?
At first, they did not even show up in the media. Once they won the election, they just decided to withdraw. That's their style, that they rule from the shadows and they not appear. They appear only during through their own media, or where they sit alone, and when they present their like ideas or projects, like infrastructure projects or something like this, that they showcase themselves, and that's it. There are no debates. And to reject all dissenting opinion, at first they did not resort to violence, or they just ignored the opposition basically, as if it did not exist. But lately they resorted to violence and violently removing this any opposition, and they want to remain this single party leadership, which is now obvious that that's what they are pushing. And also their style is to label everyone as like Nazis, or like, yeah, they call
Nazis,
Yeah,
not
Nazis,
in
not
the
in the
English
term,
sense,
yes.
Nazis, yeah. Nazi in sense of United National Movement,
Sure.
but also liberal fascists, so yes.
It's what they call the labels are not important, but they want to label as like radicals. Any opposition is radical, and it turns out that the entire nation became all of a sudden a radical group. Then it came down to like entire West became a radical group, and so on and so on. Anybody who does not agree basically with them. So
Yes,
this
so,
style needs to change, and this unity helps like navigate through this polarization. And as much as we de-escalate the situation, the closer we are to democracy, the closer we are to stepping forward into a better future for Georgia. And we need at some point we need debates in the parliament. We need the differences in opinion, but right now, yes, we need to unite and come together and build a better country.
Definitely, and there has also been additional development. So we've already spoken about the opposition configuration, but there's also significant movements emerging in the civil society. And for example, on July 11th, the movement Vote for Europe emerged, and it was a really grand opening, and the President Salome Zurabishvili herself inaugurated the movement, and they plan on raising awareness and like information campaigns in the regions of Georgia among the Georgian voters abroad, and so on, in defense of this European identity and European future of Georgia. So they will work intensely in the 100 days remaining in the run-up to the elections. And another social movement that was founded, it was founded by Levan Tsutskiridze, who is the former head of ECMD Georgia. ECMD is an NGO that worked really hard in strengthening party democracies and party resilience. They have a lot of, they have a big contribution in Georgian party system, and they have also been very significant in these Russian law events, as well as party configurations events. So they founded this movement called Freedom Square, the main square in Tbilisi. And they will also be contributing a lot to awareness issues in the regions of Georgia, as well as Georgia voters abroad, and so on.
Yeah, with Salome's initiative, it's very important that she didn't include any political parties there. She included just famous faces. For example, our national folklore dance team and her
I don't know if it
director. her director, Nino Sokhishvili, she's one of the person who will be going to the region. So it's very important that before this, we have never had this kind of huge campaign with famous faces who are not into politics. So it's the first time that this is happening. And whenever I look up different elections in different countries and what was their, how they gained the victory, they always have this kind of things. Every country which has won against corrupted and political party, which is like Georgian Dream, they used all of the famous faces in their countries to promote to go to the election. So I think it should be very important for us. And also, this kind of things, groupings of parties, is not happening just in the opposition part. It's also in the Georgian Dream, not Georgian Dream, but Georgian Dream's proxies. So the Georgian Dream and its openly pro-Russian proxies also prepare for the elections, and they have already started campaigning. A group of activists previously associated with the Georgian Dream and with a pronounced pro-Russian stance also announced a new political movement, which is called United Neutral Georgia, which is also part of the propaganda that Georgian government uses, that we need to be neutral like Switzerland, because that's what that is good for the country like us. So this this political movement have been founded. They hope to transform into a proper party in a year. In the movement's manifesto, the founders say that over the past 2 years, Georgian society has become a political hostage of the EU integration issue, which poses the greatest danger to the Georgian state. In June, the violent pro-Russian group Altinfo stated that they and hopefully some other conservative parties would also run for elections together with an older pro-Russian Georgian Dream proxy, the Alliance of Patriots, using the legal base of the Alliance of Patriots. So yes, this is one of the examples of how Georgian Dream groups these political parties together, so that if they need help in the government after elections, these proxy parties will be helpful to them to do a coalition together. So these people are used. And also I want to mention one more thing, and I'll let you talk about this. Georgian Dream's government officials and Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze also stated that the liberalism will be ended in Georgia in 2025. So that is the deadline he gave for himself, that these neo-Nazis, which they call us, we won't be existing for the next elections in 2025. So yes.
I think they don't even understand political ideologies, because they're when it comes to economy, their policies have been on the left side. They're basically communists, because they have created pension funds, mandatory pension funds. They've supported to increase the role of government basically in economy. And to call then to speak about political ideologies as if they're right-wing, that is a mistake. Also, this has nothing to do with ideologies at the moment. We are against an existential threat from the government itself, because it wants to basically decide the fate of the country as it suits them, as it suits their own business, basically. And they want to solidify their governance for an unlimited period of time, basically. They've been in power for 12 years. This is the definition of democracy, that parties, governing parties should change, and there should be plurality in the parliament. But they have rejected this idea. They want to create an authoritarian republic, and no citizen is for this. I think they will have problem within their own electors. People who voted for them in the past, they voted because they thought that these people were democratic leaders. But now their mask is off. So there is ideologies, all of these ideas. It has nothing to do anymore with the election. We are very clearly standing against a group of people who want to usurp the power for themselves, and they only obey to one person, their own financial boss, their leader, and we know who that leader is friends with also.
Yes.
And right now, I think the situation is very clear. Salome Zurabishvili has been gathering on her own part, has been gathering some people, famous faces, and many, the whole culture basically is up against this threat from the ruling party, and this caused their politics from the ruling party. It caused to create many groups of interest. No matter who is a person in the society, a football player, a singer, dancer, it does not matter. It involves everyone. Their politics is against everyone, and they're only after their own self-interest. So no wonder everybody is uniting. And yes, it's just a logical step that everybody recognizes the threat. The football players have their own agenda. They want to play in the European clubs. Common people want to travel and get education in Western countries. Generally, people want to develop this country and receive the same kind of assistance from the West as we are used to receiving. So they put everything on the table, and they are risking all of this. So, of course, many groups of people will unite against the ruling party. And I hope this will translate into the swift change in leadership.
Well, everyone should feel responsibility, of course. Like, there is a risk in theory that some parties, if they stay alone and don't unite, which is currently the case. However, I know that they are in negotiations. I'm just saying in general, like, there's a risk that if several parties stay below the threshold, then the Georgian Dream will get their votes and pocket their votes. I know that everyone is trying to find alliances, but urgency is definitely there, because there's a lot to do also after you unite and create alliances to do a campaign. So I don't think we have a lot of time in that. I just wanted to say about this neutrality. It has been a long tried tactic and strategy of Russia to convince Georgians to be neutral, as if Switzerland is possible in South Caucasus. In Georgia, if you are not aligned with the West, then the security and political vacuum in the country is definitely filled by Russia. And we have this bitter experience of the First Republic in 1921, when Georgia was essentially neutral, and the British troops left Georgia, and then Russia annexed Georgia without thinking twice about it. So yes, this neutrality issue has been circulating in Georgian society for ages, but it's noteworthy that it never gained traction and never gained momentum. So it's always been this annoying issue, but it never managed to grasp the attention of wide masses of population, because people do have some historical memory. And yes, the Georgian Dream, many people say, many people close to the Georgian Dream, they say that Georgian Dream realizes they cannot stay in power alone, so they are kind of searching for alliances, possible alliances themselves, and all these pro-Russian parties and movements that are emerging new and new. And Kobakhidze, the prime minister, said that liberal fascism will end in Georgia in 2025, and then everything will be great in the country. Well, they have also had various other statements, like, for example, they are really counting on administration change in the United States, in the hope that the current critical stance of the United States towards the Georgian Dream will change. So Georgian Dream member of the parliament, Irakli Zarkua, said that on November 5th, when the war is over and everyone negotiates, then no one will call Georgian law Russian law, and there will be peace, and that the elections will be October elections in Georgia will be between peace and war. And
sanctions are lifelong, yeah.
Yes, actually, we don't really have any instances when sanctions have been lifted despite the change of administration. So I think the top management of GD doesn't think that sanctions will be lifted, but it's a good way to encourage the lower levels of like enablers or something. And one more about neutrality. The head of the top propaganda TV of the Georgian Dream, which is called TV Imedi, and his name is Irakli Rukhadze. They're all Iraklis, by the way. He said that the European direction of the country should not be in the constitution, because the fact that people support European integration does not necessarily mean that they consider it important. He said that maybe they see it as a bonus but not something important, and it should not be in the constitution. Then some GD members distanced themselves from him, but like, of course, he doesn't say, no one in the GD says anything with their own brains. It's all top down.
That question was asked in 1995 in Georgia. That was put to referendum, and Georgian people decided that Euro-Atlantic Union for Georgia is essential. And nobody has the right, no individual, no ruling party has the right, constitutionally speaking, to change that decision. They have to put that question again to the referendum if that is the issue, that they want to change the direction of the country, the foreign alliance. They should put it up to they should ask the people about it.
Yes.
Also, they wrote the new constitution. This constitution is basically one partisan constitution, which was written by Irakli.
It's a new amendment. It's not a new constitution per se, but it's a new
fundamentally changed.
Yeah, it's
many things.
absolutely different.
The governmental structure, yes, and they put this Euro-Atlantic section in the 78th article. And they themselves recognize just how important this aspect is, that they put it inside the constitution. Actually, this Russia looks at this. One of the points that Putin mentioned before were when it comes to Ukraine's constitution is that, oh, look at them, they have declared that they want to join EU. So this point actually is a Russian narrative, to remove this kind of section from the constitution to appease to the will of Putin. That's why they started this talk. Otherwise, they of course understand that the majority of Georgians, they've declared this, that we are standing for this. We have already answered to this question on referendum, and I don't think that will change even now. If the people were to ask the same question now, the majority has already manifested outside. They've protested for months now, and we have seen just how strong the aspiration of Georgian people are. So yes, that whole talk about the constitutional clause, yes, it comes from the northern interest, of course.
If I may add, it's an important news. President Salome Zurabishvili will appeal to the Constitutional Court about the constitutionality of this foreign agents law, because under Article 78, all levels of government authority should do everything possible in their power to advance Georgia's European and Euro-Atlantic integration. And this law clearly contradicts that, because the European Union says directly that there's no European future for Georgia. And also, under this law, I mean. And also Article 22, it violates freedom of association in the opinion of the president, and well, we agree with her, so she will be appealing it to the court. And as far as we know, all CSOs are also on their own as well appealing it to the court.
They're going to take it to the European court as well, I think.
Yeah, if and when the
talks,
Constitutional Court fails, because like the audience should know that Constitutional Court is pocketed by the Georgian Dream as well. It is just a step by the president and CSOs to further expose the court, and also to exhaust all possible means in Georgia before they move forward to the European court. Less than a year ago, in September, I guess, the Constitutional Court found the president guilty of violating the constitution because she didn't get government authorization for her visits to European capitals to lobby for Georgia's EU candidate status, and the government said that she didn't have right to do so without authorization.
Even though she went there with her own money, with her own stuff.
She went there with her own money. Georgian embassies there did not help her with any meetings and arrangements. But yeah, eventually, like her lawyers, I know they argued that she was doing everything in her capacity for advancing Georgia in the European Union. So in that regard, the government authorization was not even needed. So the government is of course, government is the one violating the constitution, and currently we are not living under constitutional frame. Like Georgia is completely beyond constitutional frame right now. We are just like waiting for this 100 days to pass and to bring the country back to the constitutional terms. Yeah.
I will add on top of that, this is actually a historic time for Georgia, that this is the first time that the president of Georgia has appealed to the Constitutional Court, even though that the majority of people do not believe in the independence of the Constitutional Court, judging from their own previous decision when it came to the president. Yes, they might side with the ruling party, but still this effort that the president is undertaking to bring the country within the constitutional framework, this is yes, a great move and much appreciated. Also, when it comes to the Article 78, only she and the public defender can appeal based on this merit. Other CSOs and citizens, they can appeal to the Constitutional Court, but on the merits of the fundamental human rights, which is in the second chapter of the Constitution. And the 78 article, this is beyond the rights clause. So she, as a president, she has the right to appeal, and she has exercised this power. So it will be interesting to see at least what kind of debates will unfold in the Constitutional Court, because they have no contrary opinion on this. They have just said that our legislation has nothing to do with the foreign policy, when it's clearly the fact that the whole West is now rejecting Georgian partnership. The funding has been frozen, and they specifically stated because of this Russian-style law, because you are against dissenting opinions. You are basically solidifying your own authoritarian regime. So clearly, the president has made the right move, even though no matter the outcome of this constitutional dispute, this is a great move. And let's see also other CSOs, they are planning to appeal on their own, but they will appeal on different grounds, on the grounds of human rights that basically prohibit CSOs to function freely, to transmit information freely. And yes, let's not forget, this legislation is against freedom of opinion, and it hunts for basically dissenting opinions. And this is great. Also, I will add on the subject of neutrality. The only reason that Switzerland has maintained neutrality is that they are a strong enough military republic. Every citizen is armed with the arms, and they're also the banking capital of the world. So there are different reasons why they are a neutral republic and why they can maintain this status. To somebody who is not informed well in the politics, this idea of neutrality might be attractive. But when it comes to reality, it is impossible for Georgia to remain neutral in this current time. And since the 90s, Georgian sovereignty has been fundamentally supported by the United States and by the Western world. They are funding our military, they are funding our government, that they are helping to sustain our country. And to say that we don't need that and we are good on our own, it's ridiculous. It's impossible.
It's like, for me as a libertarian, you may say that I'm not into us being in the EU, but I realize the threat of Georgia, which we're facing right now. So I realize that when we enter the EU and when we will be on the European level, probably there will be lots of stuff that I will not be in favor of because ideologically there are lots of differences. However, I see this as a security issue for Georgia, and I think that's what political parties will need to explain to people, because for this time they've seen, the crowd has seen what benefits they can have from the EU, and they've seen it because their families went there and they benefited economically as well. But it's very not unclear, however, for Georgian society, we need to talk more about the security issue, why we need to be in the EU and with the West. So this is one of the most important things here. That's why we cannot be Switzerland. So Georgian Dream uses this propaganda daily. I see TikTok channels every day that they hire youngsters and they go to the people and ask questions. And one of the main questions is that, what do you think about Georgia, Georgia having neutrality and being like Switzerland? And lots of people are like very in favor of that because they love this idea of neutrality. But yeah, Georgian political parties need to be doing more to explain to people that EU and NATO is not just benefits economically, it's a benefit of security, which we have every day because our neighbor is Russia. About NATO as well, whenever parties were not part of NATO, they were attacked by Russia. So it's a propaganda that NATO, that countries who want to join to NATO, they have wars with Russia because they want to join the NATO. It's not true. So we need to explain to people that even more. And
exactly. On the contrary, we want to join NATO to be protected.
Exactly.
From Russia, yeah.
So with NATO, we had some news in this week, which is very unfortunate news. For the first time since the 2008 Bucharest summit decision, the NATO-Washington summit declaration, adopted by the heads of the state of the allied countries on July 11, fails to relate the formula that Georgia will become a member of the alliance with the membership action plan as an integral part of the process. So this follows the dramatic deterioration of relations with Georgia's Western partners during the past 2 years. The NATO officials have voiced their concerns about Georgia's stalled reforms since 2022 and urged Georgia to be ready for a decisive moment in 2023. So the Washington summit declaration mentions Georgia once in paragraph 17. However, it is just mentioned like it calls on Russia to withdraw all of its forces from the Republic of Moldova and Georgia stationed there without their consent. So it's just that part of the moment from this declaration that they included Georgia. Otherwise, we're out of this declaration. We were not mentioned even anywhere.
Yes, and Georgia's defense minister, who's also called Irakli, Chiko, He said that
we need to name this Georgia alert Iraklis.
Irakli alert. Yes. So he down, like, just like all other Georgian Dream members, he downgraded the graveness of the situation, and he said that yeah, Georgia is not mentioned as a future member, but it's not a problem, because there's written that every country is free to join NATO if they wish to. So that's what we are happy about right now, I guess, and that's the threshold we want to uphold in NATO. Well, it's unsurprising, really, because the Georgian Dream, like, they have absolutely written NATO off the radars in their rhetoric and from public perceptions as well. Like, yes, they still have to talk about European Union integration and so on, but they have been trying to completely erase NATO off the public discussions completely, and well, it's unsurprising because yes, I don't even know, I'm getting angry and I don't even know what to say at this point. So it's extremely upsetting for Georgia. They are consciously leaving Georgia vulnerable to anything Russia might come up with, to Russian mercy or whatever. Georgian Dream states that they are in the position of strategic patience, and that, like, they are the guarantee that there is no war in Georgia. But strategic patience is when you you don't openly confront your enemy, but in the meantime you're building up your capabilities and you are getting stronger. Georgian Dream's understanding of strategic patience is to compromise on everything with Russia and flirt with Russia and not do anything to strengthen the country's security and the army or like anything in the meantime. Well, Bidzina Ioanishvili, the oligarch behind everything, he has personally stated, oh, what have the Americans lost in the Black Sea? He doesn't think it's necessary that the Black Sea be part of the Western security architecture, and he brought the Chinese company now to govern the Anaklia deep sea port also. And the Anaklia deep sea port in Georgia is just 36 kilometers away from the port of Ochamchire in Russian-occupied Abkhazia. So Russia plans on constructing a military naval base in Ochamchire because they have been squeezed out by the Ukrainians in Crimea. It's not safe for their navy to be stationed neither in Crimea nor in Novorossiysk and other places in the Russian Black Sea. Just one line, I'm not saying Crimea is the Russian Black Sea. I mean, like, the Euro-Russian Black Sea, the ports that Russia has there, Sochi or whatever. Of course, Crimea is Ukraine. So they need the Abkhazian coastline because it's the furthest in the reach of Ukrainian weapons. Suddenly we will have a Russian naval base and Chinese-controlled Anaklia deep sea port less than 40 kilometers away from each other. So yeah, of course, the Georgian Dream does not want NATO included anywhere. By the way, since we're talking about the Black Sea and all of this, Beka Davituliani, the Georgian Dream member of the parliament, he said in one of the interviews that since the role of Georgia increased in the Middle Corridor and trade now after the full-scale war in Ukraine, and Georgia had more trade opportunities with big countries, those countries wanted money to be transparent in Georgia, to trust that Georgia as a country and its government, and that's why they brought the foreign agents law. That's what he said in an interview. So basically, he's saying that they brought the foreign agents law at the request of China primarily, but also maybe Russia, Anyway, that's what they said. Yeah.
Yeah, their words are so much believable, yes.
Yes. Yeah, but they might be saying that they are doing good for Georgia with this law because investments from China and all of that is good for Georgia. And, yeah.
I have my own personal opinion why they kickstarted this whole Russian-style law, but the actions already speak
Yes.
much louder than what they say that their motives are. It's clearly they want to win this election at all costs, even if they have to shut everybody up, no matter how, no matter the degree of violence. But we are seeing just how bad they are at doing at that even. And the election will decide a lot of things in Georgia. Also, when it comes to the United States and their foreign policy, I think that right now most odds are for Trump winning the election, and he is showing persistence and strength of character in the domestic affairs. When it comes to United States, we need the same strength and perseverance in the foreign policy as well. We should not compromise with Russia when they are the attackers, they are the occupiers, and they want to advance their own interest into Europe, into Caucasia. Basically, that's what they're trying to do. And when Russia senses weakness, they move forward. We have seen this unfold time and again. Every time they have sensed some sort of weakness in the foreign policy, they've either started a war against Georgia or invaded Ukraine, or they basically start a war somewhere, because that's what they do. And I think Trump has realized this already, and he has been very aggressive in the foreign talks. When it came to North Korea, for example, North Korea was threatening the United States with nuclear war. Trump met the North Korean leader and he said that, look, I have a button as well, so do not threaten us. I think we need the same kind of decisive action against Russia, that they should not think that they are above everything, that the rest of the world should submit to them.
Yeah.
So I hope Trump shows the same persistence and fight. He continues that fight for Europe, for Georgia as well, and we are partners for a reason. Also, the United States understands just how important the role of Georgia is in the sense of this whole middle corridor and this Caucasian region. We have a big player as well as a neighbor in Turkey. They're also a big part of this, but other than us, they really have no long-term partner. And we are already in long-term relationship with the United States, and we need to continue this relationship further. And the stronger we are, the better it is for the United States. Yeah. The stronger the Georgian democracy and Georgian military power, the better for Georgia and the United States as well.
Yes, and I listened to Trump's and Biden's debates actually, and one of the things that I'm not in favor of Trump or Biden, so I'm just saying the fact that he said that America would not face the Russian-Ukrainian war if it were Republicans who were in power, because America is the greatest country in the world, and we need to prove to other people that we really are. So Americans now believe that they lost this kind of first place in the world when they were the best. So they feel like when Putin decided to enter the Ukraine, they feel like it's their own mistake, because they did not show the world that they're so much powerful that Putin could not do that. So that's what I wish for the USA. It's not about Ukraine and Russia. Ukrainian war does not end in Ukraine. It's about the whole region, and not just the whole region. Russia might go even further to the Europe. So it's about the world and world peace that we're talking about, and not just one region of the world. So we need to realize that it's Russia and now China, which are the next countries who want to rule the world. So it's the civilized, the West society needs to realize that it does not end in Ukraine. It goes further than Ukraine, and that's why they need to arm Ukraine so that it does not go any further. So for the USA, I hope and I believe that they will continue the amount of support that they give to Ukraine, because that's very important thing right now for the whole world. And yes, I hope they gain back this power in the whole world, because USA, even though it's the big country, and Georgian propaganda really wants to mention that you want Russia or America's, because America, they have their own interests and they want to rule you also. America does not want to rule me. I want to use America for my own benefits, and USA needs to be for their own benefits, which is not attacking the country and not killing the people. So I hope that USA has this power and stays with this power for the whole world, because it's very important for the whole world, for USA to stand with the civilized world and not with Russia.
I recall the First World War, that US did not want to get involved in the World War I. And the President Woodrow Wilson, at first, he was for neutrality, and strict neutrality was their policy. But it is in like 20th century that US has realized that there cannot be passivity when it comes to Russia. That when such a force is advancing their own interests elsewhere, it will eventually come to the shores of the United States. So they need to, at first, tackle it where it begins, no matter where the war is happening today, Ukraine, some other place. If the attacker is Russia, Russia is attacking against the interests of United States. It's the same thing. So hence this whole partnership, and we need each other. Georgia needs the Western world, the Western support, and West also needs to realize that when they are strengthening us, when they are protecting us, they are helping themselves as well, because we have the common threat. And yes, behind Russia, it's not just Putin, it's a whole ideology of communism and authoritarian regimes. When they want to make the world like the same way, that's what Soviet Union was, every kind of policy, they want to spread it across their whole territory, and they have one leader, supreme leader like Putin. There is no more elections even happening. It's a ridiculous process. It used to be like a parody of elections before, that there was one opposition candidate maybe, but Putin would get 99% of the votes. But nobody even questions that he will be their leader for the rest of his life. And that's the type of leadership he offers the world. And on the other hand, we have the United States, the founding father, the constitutionalism, the democracy, and this is what the conflict is about at the end of the day. So yes, we need to maintain our foreign partners, and we need to make our partnership stronger. And after this election, I'm sure we will continue cooperation with the Western world.
Yes, definitely. Well, right now, our partners and friends, they are, of course, reacting to the Georgian Dream's malign steps. So we discussed last week that the United States suspended indefinitely the Noble Partner military drills, while military drills are commencing in Armenia now, and things change so fast in South Caucasus. It's a plot twist for real. But anyway, and the European Peace Facility also suspended a 30 million contribution to the Georgian army. Then France stated that they will be suspending all budget aid to Georgia. Germany also refused to further initiate further aid to Georgia. And dropped the drills as well. but the Georgian Dream's rhetoric has been
It
that
was very fun.
yeah, it has been that they are taking money away from the army and are giving it to this civil society. And for them to make Molotov cocktails. That was their message. So they are now capitalizing on this patriotic sentiment. They are demonizing the European Union as someone who undermines the Georgian army. And they're saying that the Georgian Dream is the only force who will be taking care of the army and give them everything adequate, whatever they need. Yeah, at the same time, they are saying that the administration will change in the United States and everything will go back to normal.
And one of the comments was actually like, I don't remember which of the officials, but one of the officials said that France didn't even give us money. So it was just a clear lie that they said that France were not giving them money.
Yes, well, they are fully running on the platform of like this false patriotism and demonizing the European Union and the United States as someone who undermines Georgia's statehood, Georgia's national identity. And that's it. That's the only gamble they have left, basically. Yeah.
They're banking on the changing leadership of United States. I think if the West decides to actually look at the numbers, how much they've invested in Georgia, and look at our country as an investment perspective, they will tell the oligarch that, hey, we have invested into this country more than you actually, your whole net worth. So, hands off the country.
Yeah, they are probably, like, I understand that Donald Trump is an unpredictable politician, and like, I don't have a, well, yes, we all have some questions about the Ukraine, about NATO, and so on, but particularly in terms of the Georgian Dream, their champagne might be quite too early, because it's not that straightforward that Donald Trump will suddenly embrace the Georgian Dream, and especially if the Georgian Dream continues flirting with China. We all know that Donald Trump has
China
yes.
is bad.
Yes, so like I wouldn't be very confident if I were the Georgian
Trump
Dream.
has declared clearly that he is against Russia and China uniting, and he is basically alert on the situation that the world is coming together against United States. So imagine,
Yeah, that's what he's saying
yes,
now.
in Caucasian region, countries coming together against American interest, that's out of the question.
Yes.
So that's just their another try to create some kind of false illusion for the public that
Yes.
they are the friends of the United States, and this whole situation is made up by the CSOs. Yes.
For the public as well as for the low-level enablers of the Georgian Dream, they're trying to prevent panic by promising business going back to usual once Donald Trump. They say once Donald Trump like becomes president, but again, it's not that straightforward. Particularly in regard to Trump's possible relations with the Georgian Dream government. Yeah, and we mentioned last week as well that the Russian intelligence service says that the United States is planning a regime change in Georgia at the elections, and we were like,
We hoped that it would really come true, but it didn't.
I mean, everything is ahead, but like, dear friends in the United States, if you are planning the regime change, please let us know, because we are very worried and we can't go on anymore with such worry for our country. Yes, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, that's their narrative, that they want to enact Maidanization of Georgia. Yes. I do not believe that that's what they really believe. That's just their marketing. That's what they're selling. It's been their rhetoric that they're the party of peace. But they're not explaining what this peace actually means. This peace means for the country to basically stagnate economically crash, and only they develop. The group of like 150 people, they've usurped the power. They own everything, all of the important land, everything. They're the businessmen, and they want the rest of the population to be just customers of their businesses. Then they complain with each other that, oh, our business suffers because the people don't have money to spend. That's their only concern, basically. Yes, people understand reality. They are far more smarter than the government thinks. They cannot sell this reality that they are the party of peace and the whole world is for the war. That's insanity.
I mean, with the reality of fragmented opposition, and while it was not that evident that we have to choose between Europe and Russia under the Georgian Dream, this war propaganda did have an effect. It really did have an effect. But now, as people are understanding that we are also losing the European perspective, this war propaganda works less because people are understanding that with this propaganda we're losing a European perspective.
And our identity and historical memories that we were always in the war. So it's very explainable how it works in Georgia, this kind of propaganda. That's why I mentioned that opposition parties need to work more about explaining why we won't have war if we join NATO and EU. So it's one of the most important things that we really need to talk to our people.
Well, I'm sure there are different strategies of dealing with it. We should also be very keen on exposing what we are losing if the Georgian Dream stays in power. And it's a very tangible loss of perspectives for Georgia, starting from military security to economic and so on. And I don't know why, but when Becca was speaking about social life being deteriorating and all of this, a couple of weeks ago, I just remembered I was standing on at a bus stop, and some lady was extremely angry about the bus schedules and everything, and she was like swearing at the government,
contrast.
swearing at the government and all of that. And we talked a little bit, and it turns out she's been one of the assistants of the Speaker of the Parliament until very recently.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, I'm from Drua.
You need to give us her contact.
And so she was like extremely irritated and swearing, and this government does nothing. And then I asked, like, what do you do? Oh, until recently I was one of the assistants of the Speaker of the Parliament. Okay.
Even their own people are suffering, yes, their own regime.
If we finished discussing our news.
We'll close on one.
I think we're done.
Sure,
yes.
we can close on one idea that this is a Latin term, but it's originating in Latin language, that if you want peace, prepare for war.
Yes, exactly.
So the only way we can be peaceful, we can be strong when it comes to our foreign threats, is that if we develop our military power, if we develop our economy, if we develop our partnerships, and not the way that the government is offering us to flirt with Russia and hope that they will like us and not attack us. That's not the way.
We tried several times in history and failed.
Sure. So let's hope that the people realize that, yes, the only way to maintain peace is to develop ourselves and improve our military and partnership with the West. So I think that's it. Also consider subscribing to our Twitter.
Actually, while we were
channel.
talking, we gained like 15 new followers.
Yes, Georgia Alert. You can look us up on Twitter, and we will be conducting Twitter Spaces in the future and give you the audience chance to also share their opinion, and it will be good.
Please let us know if you have comments on the format, what you would like to incorporate, and what format you would be glad to see from us. And we will try to be as responsive as possible now in Georgia.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
very much.
stay tuned for the next week.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Thank you for watching. And
Thank
stay
you.
tuned.
See you next week.